Hey, welcome to this episode of Black Beat Podcast, where we dive deep into the issues that shape our community and engage with the leaders who are driving change. I'm your host, John Washington, and today we're tackling the future of Portland, a city that's on the cusp of significant transformation with the newly restructured City Council. For those who may not be aware, Portland has adopted a new governance model. 12 city commissioners, 3 elected from each of the 4 districts, a city manager, and a mayor. And this will all be determined through ranked choice voting in the next election, a big change for Portland. Joining us today is someone with deep roots in civic engagement, a history of leadership in arts, neighborhood associations, urban planning, and public safety, Stanley Pinkin. Stanley is running for Portland City Commissioner in District 3, bringing decades of experience from both New York and Portland to the table. His commitment to Portland spans over 20 years, and he's known for his hands-on approach, whether it's in housing, homelessness, or climate justice. Also with us is my friend and co-host Samuel Miller, who has worked closely with Stanley on several committees over the years. Together, we'll be exploring Stanley's vision for Portland, the challenges we face, and how we can restore the vibrancy of our city. Stanley, welcome to Black Beat Podcast. We're excited to hear from you and with your insights today.
Thank you, John. Happy to be here. And just one slight correction, it is District 4.
It's District 4.
3.
Well, right on, Stanley.
And
my correction.
That's okay, and I know it's confusing with
all these districts.
Yep.
So, Stanley, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. How'd you get here, man? I mean, what's this all about? How did a guy come from New York City to Portland and decide to get into politics?
Well, so getting into politics was not my lifelong ambition. But since coming here from New York 21 years ago, I've been so deeply engaged in the community, and you've touched on some of that, neighborhoods, livability, homelessness issues, safety issues, very deeply engaged in the arts and in many areas of the arts and in the environment as well. So with all the work I've done in these 20 years as a volunteer, it just felt it was a natural progression for me to run for city council. Especially because of the new system, that the new experiment that we're starting in January.
Have you seen this new experiment ever before, Stanley? Anywhere?
No, have not. It's something that only Portland could do to make something.
Keeping it all weird, huh, Stanley?
As complicated as this, but it's a system the voters chose, and we have to make it work. It's what we have, and I really see this as an opportunity to reset our priorities, set sound policy, and take action. And it's a more inclusive system, which I totally agree with. What I really didn't agree with was that we would have 3 commissioners in each district with a complicated system of ranked choice voting. But I do like the idea that we are moving to districts. We will have a city manager, and we're going to professionalize the operations of our city, which we all know needs it.
So, can you explain to the listeners, Stanley, a little bit about this ranked choice situation here? What? Tell us a little bit more about that. I'm a simple guy myself. What's this ranked choice politics, going on right now? Explain this a little bit to my listeners.
Well, I'll tell you. I've been on the campaign trail pretty much since April, and I announced in February, but we really got started in April, and I've been in so many situations, so many house parties, talking to people on the street. And I will say 99 out of 100 people do not understand our new system. Most people don't even know what district they're in. And least of all does anybody understand the ranked choice voting, particularly because we're doing ranked choice voting for 3 positions in a district. It's much simpler. The mayor's race, for example, it's for 1 position. So it makes a lot more sense. So it's very complicated. I'm not going to get into the weeds on it because in terms of how it's counted, I'm counting on those experts who know how to figure out the software to be able to count this. But basically, first of all, in our district, there are 30 candidates.
Wow.
30. And across the entire city, there
Are
are,
you serious?
I am absolutely serious.
Where are they all coming from, and who are they?
Well,
I mean,
that's,
anybody see them all? Are they getting whittled down at any point here, Stanley?
I guess they'll get whittled down to the election coming up on November 5th. I guess they'll get whittled down. I think Sam wanted to say something.
Well, yeah, that's in this district. In all, it's 100 total.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest turnouts that we've probably had in a district.
Well, when
yeah.
you bring towards voting, anyone can throw their hands into the basket. Literally. And there are people who have not done any civic organization, who have no background at all in justice and prudence, who are not economically oriented, who are not BIPOC oriented. They can throw their hands into the basket.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let me explain a little bit as simply as I can how it's going to work. So you're going to get a ballot, and on the left side of the ballot there will be a column, and there are going to be 30 names on that column. Across the top of the ballot, there will be six columns, and you can rank your 6 choices. So you can have a first choice, second, third, all the way up to 6 choices.
Got you.
And what will happen, the person who gets the fewest amount of votes will be eliminated, and the votes then get reapportioned to the other candidates. And again, I don't want to get so deep into the weeds, but that's basically how it's going to work. So in order to win, you have to get 25% plus 1. So the first person who gets to 25% plus 1 is elected, and they keep counting rounds until you get 3 people who have achieved 25% plus 1.
Got you. So that's going to be almost like a lottery to some degree. I mean, when you consider it. So let me get into the weeds a little bit with you, Stanley, on a few things. I mean, we're leadership in crisis in this city right about now, right? And you've been deeply involved in Portland's civic life for over 20 years now, right? So from the neighborhood associations to tackling homelessness, given the current challenges that Portland is facing, how do you plan to bring the city out of what some is calling the dark days?
Well, let me start with this. What motivated me to run, I think I mentioned it, is this new form of government, because we need to make this new government work. Because if we don't make it work, all those challenges we have, I don't know that we're going to be able to make any significant progress. So that's one of the reasons I'm running, is because of my experience, my skills, I've been a problem solver. I'm a person of action. I want to work with the city council where we can bring everyone together and find common ground. And I'm able to work with people of different ideologies because I know how to listen. And sometimes someone will have a crazy idea, and there are lots of crazy ideas.
Yeah.
But you know what? Even in a crazy idea, you can learn something from a crazy idea. So I think we need a city council and a government that listens more, talks less, and then takes action. So I've been endorsed by all the sitting commissioners right now. I've been endorsed by District Attorney-elect Nathan Vasquez. If you look at my website, you'll see the endorsements. I have about 200 people who have endorsed me from all walks of life in Portland, and that's because people know I can work with everybody, and that's I think that's one of the skill sets. I don't know where it came from, but it's a skill set that I
Maybe
have.
it's that you're a New Yorker, Stanley.
Well, no, New Yorkers don't always get along so well. I mean,
But at least we have communication, that's for sure, down to a stick, right?
I mean, we say in New York, if you get 12 of us in a room, there were 13 different opinions. So, so I guess maybe I grew up with that.
Yeah, I mean, so you got this vibrant background, like in homelessness. But I'd like you to tell your story. What's the plan Stanley's bringing to the table? What makes you unique, Stanley, as to any of the other people that are running in your mind? I mean, other than your background, what is it that's about Stanley that you believe that that brings that stick to the table?
So can I go back for a minute?
Come on, yeah, go ahead.
A little bit about
Tell
my
your
background.
story. Yeah, go
a little
on
bit
with it.
about my background.
Yeah.
So my parents emigrated from Poland to escape poverty and discrimination there. Jewish family. They had a rough time back in Poland, and they moved to New York to find a better life and to find opportunity for their children.
Right, right.
And my father was a cabinet maker. He worked for $8 a day. And my mom was a seamstress, and she worked for even less than that. So eventually, my dad opened.
Two noble professions.
They're all noble professions.
Yeah, right.
And my mom was actually, my dad was a union organizer back when he was in Poland, and he got beat up for it. And my mom belonged to the ILGWU, International Lady Garment Workers Union, when she was a seamstress in New York. So my dad opened a small woodworking business, and when I was a kid, he would bring me in the summertime, and I would sweep. He would have me sweeping floors day after day after day until I said, "Dad, is there something else I can do?" And eventually, he had me go out with the carpenters on installations, and my job was to carry the toolboxes and to pick up the nails that fell on the floor, because my dad was sustainable before any of us knew what the word meant. Actually, I didn't even know what the word meant until I came to Portland, where it's a big word. But my folks were always very frugal. So I learned the value of hard work, and my dad was very community-oriented as well. So that's part of my background. And I was very fortunate. I had the opportunity, which everybody should have the opportunity. I'd like to see everybody have the opportunity. I was the first one to be able to go to college in my family. So I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering and a master's, as I mentioned before, in urban planning from Columbia University. So I'm a very hard worker. I'm actually
with some pedigree, some background. Yeah, I'm sure Sam knows.
I'm kind of a 24/7. I have lists, and I need to check off things on my list, and I keep going and going. So I have this background of a really strong work ethic and community service, but I look at things. I'm very detail oriented. I also look at things systematically, but I also look holistically, and that's kind of what my urban planning education kind of rounded me out in how to look at everything, and that's part of what I feel I can bring to our city council. So in our new form of government, while we're going to have these districts, and we're going to be focused on the issues within each of our districts, but we can't forget we have a whole city here.
Yeah.
We have to look at the whole city at the same time.
Yeah.
This episode of Black Beat Podcast is brought to you in part by the University of Oregon, where mighty means excelling both in the field and on the field. Be mighty, be Oregon.
If I can interject, one of the things that Stan offers in my working with him is, in addition to this humanistic approach to life that he has, he's also a fiscally oriented person. Because one of the things that you and I have had many conversations over the years around is the fiscal irresponsibility of governance, where we are leaving people out of the mix. You work with Black business owners, brown business owners, survived for years, and they are oftentimes left out of the narrative of conversations for work. We do the work, but we don't own the company. And Stan and I have had many, many conversations about that. He's actually highlighted some of that in the way that he conducts himself, in the way that he does his job.
Gotcha.
And so he's given us opportunities as Black business owners to bring more Black business owners to the table and more brown business owners to the table.
Right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, Sam, from you. But Stanley, I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about your background, and that sort of lends way to some of these questions that are being asked. How do you, in your analytical and your structural approach to some of the issues, the crisis that the city is facing right now, what's your thoughts about how you're going to tackle some of this stuff?
Okay, so biggest issues out there for most people right now: homelessness and public safety. So when it comes to the homelessness issue, one of the most important things we have to do is get the city and the county on the same page. And I think it's only until more recently, because there's been a lot in the media about the county's failures with homelessness. I mean, after all the money that's been spent, and you look at our streets and they haven't improved. So we need to get the city and the county on the same page, and that's been kind of difficult. So that's one of the things I want to work on because of my ability to help bring people together, bring us together. The county and the city, we need to have a plan. And right now it's scattershot. We have so many social service agencies out there doing many of the same things, but a homeless person can go to, let's say, Central City Concern one day, be there, get services for a week. They leave, they're back on the street, and then a week later they go to Transition Projects, TPI. And TPI doesn't know that that person has been at Central City and what their needs are and even what their name is. So we need to have a data system that the county finally says they're going to work on, but it's going to take them 3 years. We need to know who's on the street, and there's no single solution to homelessness. Takes a lot of work. For me, the most important thing, while we do have to build housing and affordable housing, it takes a long time and it costs a lot of money. In the meantime, we have people dying and living on our streets.
Right.
It's a humanitarian crisis. We need to get them off our streets into shelter, into safe rest villages, temporary alternative sites that the city has built. There's one in southeast Portland called the Clinton Triangle that's been very successful. There's another one that's coming up in North Portland. We need to get people off the streets into services. We have to provide more detox centers. We need a sobering center so desperately. The county says it's going to build one, but they can't get it built, I don't know, for 2 years, to 2026 sometime. So there's all this work that we have to do. So these safe rest villages and the TASS, temporary alternative shelter sites, they utilize tiny homes. And that's the direction I feel we need to go, at least as a transition into transitional housing and eventually to stability and permanent housing. But by having that system of tiny homes, it gives people some privacy and a sense of dignity, as opposed to going to a congregate shelter where everybody's in one big room and people don't feel safe, and you can't necessarily bring your pets if you have a pet, that sort of thing. So we have to get on the right page. And actually, I think the city in the last year or two has been doing a pretty good job. And in these villages that I'm talking about, they've had a pretty good success rate of getting people into permanent housing. So that's our first priority. Then, of course, it's going to take time. We don't have the mental health support that we need, and that's not really a city issue. That starts at the state and the county. So I think people are now beginning to understand that the major responsibility in the purview over the homelessness and mental health issues is the county, not the city. But as a city council, we have to push on the county to do better and do the things that we can do.
Now, Stanley, you have some background. You was a co-chair of HomeShare.
Yes.
And that has gained you some insight into this homelessness issue?
Well, in a sense. So what we do at HomeShare, and Sam and I are both board members there. I'm a founding co-chair of it. At HomeShare, we're not helping those who are homeless. What we're doing is helping those who might be a paycheck away from homelessness. So we're trying to prevent homelessness before it starts, and that's on two sides of the equation. It's on the renter side, who rents a spare room, and just to go back a little bit, what HomeShare does, we're utilizing an inventory of spare rooms across the state.
Wow!
And by census, there are 1.5 million spare rooms across the state. Many of them are in homes that are owned by elder women who are single. They're widowed, divorced, living on Social Security. They're mortgage burdened. They can barely hold on to their house. So what we're doing is connecting those people.
What a find.
To low wage earners who might be a paycheck away, and we're bringing them together. So so we're helping people on both sides of that spectrum.
Sam, I didn't know you were part of the HomeShare.
Absolutely, yeah, for several years now. But what I was going to say is one of the things that you and Senator Wyden highlighted 18 months ago, almost 2 years ago now, is to help eradicate predatory buying.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big one for a senator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big deal.
Yeah.
And what we've done with that is Social Security pays someone $1,275 a month. They've owned their home since 1972. In 2020, when the pandemic hit and property values went through the roof, their property taxes, which were $6,000 or $4,000 a year, went up to $18,000 a year.
Wow.
So they could afford to pay their mortgage, their property taxes. So predatory buyers came in.
Wow.
And they said, "Hey, Mrs. Public, you own your house free and clear
Wow.
on Northeast 26th. I'll give you $250,000 cash."
Yeah, I remember that. That was how they did that, Sam. Yeah. Wow.
And so what we have done on that is we've gotten the state to assist us. We don't have laws, but we have actions in place now that the state will go in and they will say to Mr. and Mrs. Public who owns their home free and clear that can't pay the $14,000 that the predatory buyer will come in and buy the house for 1/3 of the value and sell it for $600,000 without doing any really changes to it, modifications to it. Now we have patrons who work in the hallowed halls of justice in Salem, who are advocating for us to have laws passed so that these people aren't liable for this enormous property taxes
That's exciting, man.
if they do
That's
do
very
home
exciting.
sharing. So
Yeah.
those is the kind of stuff that Stan championed.
He's instigated this,
Yeah,
huh?
he championed it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Stanley.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, I'm one of
Yeah.
several.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't take all the credit. It's a
But
team.
Stanley, I can't help but to not overlook the second part of the statement that you're seeing that is out of the two things that you believe are front and center, homelessness and public safety. Now, this part around public safety, talk to me a little bit more about that because historically, this whole issue around public safety has always been a double-edged sword. Right? Sometimes it was a status quo or the establishment saying we need more policing. You know, the natives are restless; they're out of control. It was a wolf call. That public safety message. Speak to us a little bit more about what you mean by this whole issue around public safety.
Sure. So I think we're in an environment where things are happening, and there are a lot of things we don't enforce in our city. A part of it is we do have a scarcity of police. We're funded for, the numbers may have changed a little bit in the new budget, but we were funded for 881 police officers. There's 69 vacancies and more retirements to come. So what we have, the police bureau right now, they cannot address things like property crimes. They're focused on the shootings that are out there, which are horrific, injury to people, those types of things. So I believe we have to build a larger police force, but they have to be well trained, and I think we need to bring training locally, which we could do right now. They're trained in Salem, and it takes up to 18 months to 2 years to get a police officer on the street. There's a training facility out near Portland International Raceway where our police get additional training above and beyond. But we need to bring it here and localize it so we can customize the training here to be able to address all our communities here and be well trained. And give you an example, we are so under-resourced, we should have somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,200 police officers. A city of Milwaukee, which is comparable size, they have 1,650. So we need to build
Really?
that.
The city of Milwaukee have 1,600 cops?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Okay, I was
Sorry.
to say Milwaukee here in Oregon.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I think we have to do. But there are other things we need to do also along with that. We need to build community policing. So I would like to see our police bureau open up local offices, storefront offices, where if you want to go in and talk to an officer, you can feel comfortable going in there. He can get to know who you are. You can get to know who he is. I think we need that in our communities. just because there's a bad apple or two in the police doesn't mean that they're all bad guys. I mean, there are bad apples, there are bad lawyers, there are bad accountants, there are bad developers. I mean,
Yeah.
so I think we have to build more community with the police bureau, which will make it safer for everybody. But we also, I really believe in Portland Street Response. I think we need to have a fully funded Portland Street Response, but there need to be metrics for it. There needs to be accountability. Needs to be outcomes and accountability, because I think that's really important. It needs to work, but we have to. We throw money at so many things in our city, and then we don't hold people accountable for actual results. So that's one thing. Just a couple of other things on the police. We need to build up our public support specialists, our PS3s, they'll do administrative work and take away. They fill some time that police officers don't have to spend on administrative type work. So there are a lot of things we can do to build a safer city. I think the concept, the housing first concept, which by the way, that's been more the concept of the county as opposed to the city who wants to get people off the streets. You can't just put people into housing who aren't prepared for housing.
Yeah.
You put people in housing, but they need to have the supportive services in order to put them into what's called affordable housing. Now, affordable is different for different people. What is affordable? So I think we can't just take people off the street and put them into housing. And I think so. Let me turn to this for a minute. So the concept in the Pearl District, and this is before my time, when it was developed, was supposed to be a mixed community where you have all levels of income living in a neighborhood. And the Pearl, about 30% of the people who live in the Pearl live in low-income housing or affordable housing, and that's the kind of mix that I think neighborhoods should have. I don't think you want to ghettoize everybody in a project. So, and when you say project, I think of, if you remember, Chicago had Cabrini Green.
Yeah, exactly.
And they had to tear that down eventually because it was bad news.
Right. And the even Grand Street projects where I grew up, as a building that was built out of bricks and steel was designed for 150 years. They tore it down in less than 48.
Yeah.
I was, not to interrupt, but I was in a listening session today for the council and the city. And Dr. Sharon Myron highlighted what you and I have talked about many times now, is we're building these affordable housing units at $575 a square foot.
Right.
And then we're siloing those people in those affordable housing units. But what doesn't happen is there's no built-in, you mentioned this, safety.
Right.
Because if you put people into a quote-unquote affordable housing unit, and Stan and I have talked about this, argued about this, you put them in that unit and you don't provide the sanctuary that a home is supposed to provide for people. Then along with those people that are moving into the affordable housing, the people that prey on those people move into the affordable housing units as well.
Not to say everybody who has a lower economic status is criminal thinking.
No, not at all.
But most of the time you find that life can get a little bit uncomfortable
the criminals
when you ain't got no money.
The criminals follow that naive behavior, that naive approach to sanctuary for children. And as a result of that, what you see in Portland is the highest rate of
trafficking and all of that.
And all of that. Rape. Like for instance, this is Stan's meaning, but one of the things that Dr. Myron talked about, Sharon Myron, who is a really strong advocate for this, she talked about the level of accountability that the county doesn't offer to citizens. And the city has closed their eyes to it. And they're putting their fingers, it's like the dike. They're putting their fingers in the dike, and the hole in the dike is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And the county is not working well with the city, and so we end up with these things. And so these are the kinds of conversations when Stan and I talk about this stuff, and we do. Those are the kinds of conversations that I think Stan will be able to highlight, because he has relationships across the board with all those people.
Right, and it talks a little bit about how you want to protect livability, community livability.
Mhm.
Talk to us a little bit about that, Stanley, about what that significance of that is to you.
Well, so a couple of things. As a neighborhood leader in the Pearl for many years, uh, we have worked very hard to keep the neighborhood clean. We have clean teams that go up and clean up litter on a regular basis. This is all volunteer. We even we even installed cigarette butt receptacles to
Mm.
collect cigarette butts, and we pick up. I can't tell you how many thousands and thousands of cigarette butts every week. So that's part of and graffiti, cleaning up graffiti, those
Yeah,
types of
yeah, that's a big
things.
one, Stanley.
Those are, and it's very big,
Ah,
and that's a whole other story. I could talk about that for a long time, but so part of these livability issues, if you're in a neighborhood and it's trashy, there's graffiti, it adds, and you have boarded up windows because there are vandals coming, or even mentally ill people on our streets who are just
yeah.
breaking windows. It creates a feeling of being unsafe. So that's a livability issue. So even so in the Pearl District, we didn't have trash cans on the streets. Well, we did, kind of, but the city did not take care of trash on our streets. So we went out and we raised over $200,000. We bought 150 trash cans. We had them installed throughout the Pearl, and we donated those cans back to the city. And we made a deal with the city. Okay, city, we paid for these trash cans. Now you maintain them. You collect the trash. Do what a city is supposed to do. So those are the kinds of things we did. But there's something else that we did. So with city resources so thin, and being adjacent to Old Town, which is kind of the center of a lot of our homelessness issues and criminal issues and livability issues, there's a lot of spillover into the Pearl.
Hmm.
And with the city not providing the resources needed, we formed our own nonprofit 501c3. It's about a year and a half, going on 2 years, that we are providing humanitarian services on the street as well as security services. We did it because it's something we had to do. The city wasn't doing it. And in the last 18 months, we have gotten 1,500 people off the streets, either into services, into shelter, or a bus ticket back home. I remember one person found out that they came from Pennsylvania, got them a bus ticket, put them on a bus, sent them back to Pennsylvania to return to their families. So those are the kinds of things that we've done. And sadly, as citizens, it's something we have to do because our city hasn't provided that.
Wow.
So that really serves as a model for how things can be done. And I would like the city and the county do a better job of doing those types of things so that volunteers don't have to do it. So there's a lot that we have to take on as citizens of this city.
Tired of high gas prices? Save money on your transportation costs with TriMet's reduced fare transit card. If you meet income requirements, you can get your first month free while you enjoy unlimited rides on buses and trains anywhere TriMet goes. That's 1 month free, a $28 value when you sign up today for TriMet's reduced fare card. We'll help you travel smarter and make your money go further no matter what the price is at the pump. Visit TriMet.org/save to learn more and apply today. That's TriMet.org/save. TriMet. How life moves.
I can see, Stanley, that you're kind of passionate about your commitment to your community, and that's admirable. And I appreciate that in you. So we've talked about a number of things. When you reach into your quiver after looking back at the conversation that we've just had, what is it that you would like the listeners to know more about Stanley Pinkin?
Well, I'm passionate and compassionate. I care about people. I care about all people. I want to see a thriving city. And we talked a little bit about my experience and the things that I've done. It's what I can bring to city council. It's working within city council, but also working across. We have to work with the mayor and the new city administrator and the deputies. We have to all work together. And I know that sounds kind of trite. Everybody talks about working together, but we really have to if we want to be successful. And I'm doing this. I said before, I didn't have to be running for public office. I felt it's something I wanted to do because I have such a passion and love for this city, and I want to see it be what it can be. And we have great opportunity. We're a city of great opportunity. There's a lot we could, and we're, regardless of what the national media may think of us right now, we are still a great city. If you look at all the positives that we have,
Right.
and all the positives that we can build, that's what I want to do. And this is, it's not about me. So the term in District 4 is a 2-year term. I'm just in it for 2 years because I want to get the city off to the right start, the new government off to the right start. And it's going to take a year, it might even take 2 because of this grand experiment. So I'm doing this. It's not about me. It's about the city. I have 3 daughters here. I have 6 grandchildren. It's about their future. It's about the future of everyone in this city, all the kids in the Black communities, the kids in other communities. It's about everybody in the city having opportunity and being able to thrive.
Sam.
About a year and a half ago, I had a meeting with Stan and another man, and we invited 5 Black business owners to a roundtable discussion to help them secure contracts with the city. And you know the struggles that we've had with that.
Right.
2%.
Right. 2%, less 0.01%.
Exactly. So, and we sat down and Stan, with Stan's meeting, he highlighted the conversation. And we had this great, robust conversation with these Black-owned businesses who, as you know, because we've been doing this for years, if a Black-owned business thrives, Black people get jobs. And then in a short period of time, one company becomes 2 companies, and 2 companies become 4, which is what Terrence did.
Right.
4, just what Jeff did, just like a lot of other guys, like Colas did. And so Stan spent a lot of time in there, and we were not able to get to the conclusions that we wanted to get to, because one of the things that you and I struggle with on a daily basis is, okay, so you have great skill set, but you don't know what a 501, you don't know what a financial statement is.
The
you don't know what
technical
a P&L is.
protocols.
Technical protocols. So it ended up being where I did most of the heavy lifting on this.
Right.
But because Stan highlighted this conversation, and I say this because I want people to know, your listeners to know, that Stan's intention around this was 100% authentic and genuine. As a result of this, those businesses that were not able to at that moment work are still thriving. Some of them have gone on way beyond what I can do for them. And the city has been able to offer some help to them. And some contracts, although it's small, not what we want. We fight about this all the time, you and I.
Yeah.
But Stan at least is in the front and center of it. And no other person that's running for council today, even though we've heard the conversations comes out of their mouths, their actions don't match up to that.
Got you.
Which is one of our frustrations. Stan has always been authentic with that.
Stan, we do appreciate you coming on the show today and talking. But, you know, I just can't help but to phrase this in a bigger way, because I recognize that you're a committed community member concerned. But what are some of your biggest fears right about now in the state of where our city is and moving forward as you look through this process? And you've arrived, obviously, to some concerns. What are your concerns in the front part of your brain right about now?
Well, I'm an optimist. I can't say that I am not concerned about how our new government will work. We are going to need 7 votes to get things done. And I am hopeful that we can work across all the districts with everyone. But and I'm not going to say I'm concerned that it's not going to work, because I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it works. And I do see a lot of good people out there running for office. Amongst 100, there are a fair number of really good
that's
people.
A big number.
Who
Comparative
care,
man.
Who cares? So I see some real hope there. I'll be honest with you that one of my concerns is what's happening at the county. So there are 2 county races, and I feel that we need a change at the county. And the District 1 and District 2 races, I think, are very significant, that the right people are elected to change the dynamic at the county, because the county has to do a better job. And they know they have to do a better job. But that's pretty important. And I'll tell you, my biggest concern is a national concern. it's the presidential election.
Oh boy.
That
We
that-
don't
that's-
we don't
and I
want to
think-
open
I
up
think-
that open up that can right
We don't want
about
to go
now,
down
but-
that road,
Yep.
but I think that's the concern of a lot of us.
A lot of
because
us.
that will affect what happens at our local level as well.
Yeah. Thanks for that wake up, Stanley. You know, and it's coming. It's coming. The train is a freight train. Is coming down the track. You know, and I don't think there's no avoiding this one. I don't think we can duck under it or jump over it, huh?
Right.
You know,
I didn't mean to get into
that's
that
okay.
national thing.
That's
but
okay. But it's
a
significant.
concern.
It certainly is. And you know, I do appreciate, Pinkin, that you came on the show today and shared a few of your views on this, because I think it's equal. I think we all have similar views and similar concerns. You know, and when I look at politics, and you just pointed out the uniqueness of what Portland's politics have always been about. It's been about two cities all the time, two forms of government all the time, and now we add this one other complicated element to it. You know, it's kind of like, what are they trying to do? Oxymoron us out the game, or what? Or where there's just no, it's all self-dissolving government somehow. It's like, but you're gonna, and that's one of the big things about what us at Floss and Media has always been about, is to help people navigate difficult situations. And this government is seeming to stack up as a difficult type of navigation for the simplicity. So I'm looking at a 2-year transition time, you know, at least for the community to be able to understand, fully be able to utilize the system as it's structured, to be able to arrive at some solutions and some things. So, Stanley Pinkin, we are honored, and we are simply blessed to have you come into our environment and sit down and share with our listeners a little bit about your story and the fact that you're running for District 4. You know, and that really is important. And most people don't know. Tell us, what is District 4? Where is that community at? Is that community, I think that's called the what district again?
Okay, so District 4 is everything west of the river and a little piece of southeast, which is basically Eastmoreland and Selwood. And that was brought into it to more or less equalize the population of the 4 districts.
Okay. And that's, the Pearl was included in District 4?
Yes.
Wow.
All the neighborhoods west of the river.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, it would be, it's going to be actually a race to watch. And
Well,
so
they're all races to watch.
Well, I don't like to race
as
them all.
is the mayor's race
Yeah.
and everything else. Yeah.
And it's also an honor to have my friend and co-host today here. You know, I can see now why, Sam, you have taken some time to sit down and truly get to know Stanley. And I do appreciate you coming in with him, riding shotgun on this one with him, and I do appreciate you being candid with us, Stanley.
Well, I appreciate being here and onward. We're gonna make Portland be the great city that it is.
Come on with it.
And one final statement from me.
Sure.
And I've
Sam?
said this to you before. Robert Frost, my favorite poem. I've said it to you many times. Walking through the woods on the snowy evening, the last 2 lines are miles to go before we sleep.
Yeah.
Miles to go before we sleep.
Yeah. And hey, this was an exciting episode of Black Beat Podcast. Y'all already get it. You know, Stanley Pinkin has been here. Sam Miller has been here and is here. And as we are on our way out, we're looking for great things to occur and to come to our city. And look, folks, we appreciate y'all being a part of our listening session today. And this concludes my exciting episode of Black Beat Podcast, where sounds become part of us.